Most people don't realize they're underinsured until after something goes wrong. And by then, it's not a small problem. It can be a life-altering one. Being underinsured doesn't mean you have no coverage. It means you have just enough to think you're safe, but not enough to actually recover. And that gap is where savings disappear, businesses close, and families fall behind. Stay with me until the end because I'm going to explain to you why being underinsured hurts more than having no insurance at all. So let's get started. Being underinsured happens when your coverage limits, deductibles, or even the type of policy you have doesn't match your real-world exposure. I see this with families carrying state minimum auto limits, homeowners underestimating rebuild costs, business owners cutting corners to save cash, people with life insurance that wouldn't last 6 months. It's common, it's understandable, and it's one of the most expensive mistakes people make. Now that you know what underinsurance really means, let's talk about why it hits so hard when life applies pressure, which leads to why being underinsurance hits harder than no insurance. Here's the part most people don't expect. When you're uninsured, you're definitely exposed. But when you're underinsured and believe you're protected, it creates a false confidence which delays action. That's how people end up filing a claim and discovering coverage caps they didn't know existed, paying deductibles they can't afford, covering the rest out of pocket, or worse, thinking insurance failed them, when the policy was never built to begin with. Underinsurance creates financial whiplash. Let me make this real with an example that sounds like everyday life, because this happens more than people think. I've worked with people who did everything right on paper. They had insurance, they paid their premiums, they never missed a bill. Then a serious accident happened. The policy paid something, but not enough. And the shortfall didn't come from nowhere. It came from the person's savings, retirement accounts, credit cards, and borrowed money. That's when people realized the real risk wasn't the accident, it was the coverage gap. So let's break down the most common places where those gaps show up so you can spot them before they cost you. Let's start with where underinsurance shows up the most. I'm going to break it down like this. First is auto insurance. The problem here is having low liability limits that don't protect your income, savings, or future earnings. Next is home insurance. When your home has replacement costs based on old values. True, there is a number on paper, but that number may not be enough to cover the cost to rebuild your home today. As we move on, of course, we can't leave out business insurance. When business owners build policies based on price and not exposure, this leads to business owners missing key coverages like meaningful general liability limits, along with professional liability, cyber, and business interruption. And last but not least, life insurance. The basic problem is putting together coverage for a funeral, but not a future. Now, I know all coverages don't fail immediately. They fail when the situation goes outside the scope of coverage. Now that you know where the gaps usually hide, here's the simple way I want you to think about fixing them. Here is some practical guidance. Insurance isn't about having a policy. It's about transferring risk you cannot afford to keep. If you wouldn't be comfortable writing a check for the loss tomorrow, then that exposure shouldn't sit on your balance sheet today. That's why reviews matter. That's why limits matter. And that's why cheap coverage often costs the most. Let's bring this home with one clear takeaway you can carry forward. Being underinsured doesn't hurt a little. It hurts at the exact moment you need relief the most. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is alignment between your life, your risk, and your true protection. And if this topic made you pause for a second, that's a good thing. Now, if this content was helpful, put a thumbs up or a heart in the comment section. This will help push this message out to new listeners. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Most importantly, share this content with someone who may benefit from this topic. But don't stop here. Check out my next video on your left for more insurance and financial tips. And as I like to say, call Jay today.